I, 27F, never thought I'd be in this situation, but here I am. My older sister Nina, 29F, recently got engaged to my ex-boyfriend Franklin, 31M, and it's tearing our family apart. Let me give you some background. Growing up, Nina and I were never particularly close. There was always a sense of competition between us, fueled by our parents' constant comparisons. Nina was the golden child, straight-A student, talented musician, and social butterfly. I, on the other hand, was more introverted and struggled academically. Our parents never hesitated to point out how I should be more like Nina. Despite this, I managed to carve out my own path. I discovered a passion for art and photography in high school, which led me to pursue a degree in visual arts in college. It was during my freshman year that I met Franklin. Franklin was a junior studying business when we first crossed paths at a campus coffee shop. He was charming, confident, and seemed genuinely interested in my artwork. We started dating soon after, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen and appreciated for who I was. Our relationship progressed quickly. By the end of my sophomore year, we were talking about moving in together and making long-term plans. My family adored Franklin, especially my parents. They saw him as the perfect partner for me, someone who could balance out my artistic tendencies with his practical business mindset. Looking back, there were red flags I chose to ignore. Franklin could be controlling at times, dictating who I should hang out with and how I should dress. He would make subtle jabs at my career choice, suggesting that I should consider something more stable than art. But I was so desperate for approval and acceptance that I brushed these concerns aside. Everything came crashing down in my senior year. I had been working on a big photography project, spending long hours in the darkroom. One night, I finished earlier than expected and decided to surprise Franklin at his apartment. Instead, I was the one who got a surprise. I walked in on him in bed with a girl from his study group. I was devastated. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the infidelity, but because Franklin had always insisted that I was being paranoid whenever I expressed concerns about his close relationship with this particular classmate. He had gaslighted me for months, making me feel crazy for even suspecting anything. When I broke things off with Franklin, my family's reaction was almost as painful as the breakup itself. Instead of supporting me, they seemed more concerned about losing Franklin. My mother actually said, "Are you sure you want to throw away a good thing over one mistake?" My father suggested that maybe if I had been more attentive and less focused on my hobby, Franklin wouldn't have strayed. Their reactions brought up all the insecurities and feelings of inadequacy I had struggled with growing up. It felt like once again, I was the disappointment, the one who couldn't hold on to a good thing. Nina, ever the perfect daughter, took it upon herself to comfort Franklin after our breakup, staying in touch with him despite my feelings. I spent the next few years focusing on healing and building my career. I moved to the city, got a job at a marketing firm where my visual arts background was actually appreciated, and started to rebuild my self-esteem. I even started dating again, although nothing serious. Then, about a month ago, Nina dropped the bombshell. She and Franklin had been secretly dating for the past year and had just gotten engaged. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. It wasn't just the betrayal from Nina, but the flood of memories and pain associated with Franklin that came rushing back. When I confronted Nina about it, her response was cold and dismissive. "It was a long time ago, you need to get over it," she said. Franklin and I connected on a deeper level. What you had was just a college fling. My parents, predictably, were over the moon about the engagement. They started planning an elaborate wedding right away, talking about how Franklin would finally be an official part of the family. It was like they had completely forgotten how he had hurt me. The worst part is, I know things about Franklin that my sister and parents don't. After we broke up, I was contacted by Lisa, Franklin's high school ex-girlfriend. She had seen a photo of us together on social media and felt compelled to reach out. What she told me was chilling. Lisa described a pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation during her relationship with Franklin. He would constantly put her down, telling her she wasn't smart enough or pretty enough. He isolated her from her friends, accusing her of cheating if she spent time with anyone else. When she tried to leave him, he would threaten self-harm. I also discovered that Franklin had a gambling problem in college that he had kept hidden from me. He had borrowed money from several friends, promising to pay them back after big wins that never materialized. Some of them were still trying to recover their losses years later. Armed with this information, I tried to warn Nina. I sat her down and calmly explained everything I had learned about Franklin's past. I showed her the messages from Lisa and the evidence of Franklin's gambling debts. I thought surely, presented with all of this, she would at least reconsider the engagement. Instead, Nina exploded. She accused me of being jealous and trying to ruin her happiness. She said I was pathetic for clinging to the past and making up lies about Franklin. When I insisted I was telling the truth, she stormed out, saying she never wanted to speak to me again. My parents' reaction was even worse. They sided with Nina completely, telling me I needed to grow up and be happy for my sister. My mother said I was being selfish and immature. My father went as far as to say that if I couldn't support Nina and Franklin, I wasn't welcome at family gatherings anymore. They even uninvited me from the weekly family dinners we'd been having since I moved back to town. I was hurt, angry, and felt completely betrayed by my own family. It was like all the years of feeling second best to Nina came crashing down on me at once. In a moment of frustration and pain, I made a decision that would change everything. I wrote a long, detailed post on social media, exposing everything I knew about Franklin. I included screenshots of my conversations with Lisa, detailing the emotional abuse. I wrote about the gambling addiction and included messages from some of Franklin's former friends about the money he owed them. I laid out the whole sordid history of his cheating and manipulation. The post went viral almost immediately. It was shared hundreds of times, reaching far beyond my immediate circle. Franklin's family saw it. Our mutual friends from college saw it. Even some of Franklin's co-workers and business associates came across it. The fallout was swift and severe. Nina called me, screaming and crying, saying I had humiliated her. My parents left furious voicemails, calling me selfish and cruel for airing family business publicly. They said I was just jealous of Nina's happiness and trying to sabotage her relationship out of spite. Now, my entire immediate family has essentially disowned me. They're saying I'm no longer welcome at any family events, including Nina's wedding. My extended family is divided. Some think I did the right thing by exposing Franklin, while others say I went too far and should have kept quiet for the sake of family harmony. I don't regret making the post because I truly believe Nina needed to know the truth about Franklin before marrying him. But now I've lost my entire immediate family, and I'm not sure what to do next. The silence from them is deafening, and I'm grappling with feelings of isolation and doubt. Was I wrong for exposing Franklin's past so publicly? Should I have just kept my mouth shut and let Nina make her own mistakes? I'm feeling really lost and alone right now, torn between standing by my actions and wondering if I've gone too far. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since everything went down, and the situation has only gotten more complicated. I wanted to give an update on what's been happening because it feels like my world has been turned upside down. First, Franklin sent me a cease and desist letter from his lawyer, threatening to sue me for defamation over my social media post. The letter demanded that I take down the post immediately and issue a public apology, or else face legal action. I was initially scared. I'm not exactly rolling in money for legal fees, and the thought of going to court was terrifying. However, I reached out to my friend Jenna, who's a lawyer specializing in defamation cases. She reviewed the post and all the evidence I had collected. Jenna assured me that truth is an absolute defense against defamation claims. Since everything I posted was factual and I had evidence to back it up, Franklin doesn't really have a case. She helped me draft a response to his lawyer, stating that I stood by everything in the post and would be happy to present my evidence in court if Franklin wanted to pursue legal action. We haven't heard back from them since, so I'm assuming Franklin realized he doesn't have a leg to stand on legally. Meanwhile, my sister Nina has been on a smear campaign against me to anyone who will listen. She's telling people I'm a pathological liar who has always been jealous of her. She's even spreading a rumor that I tried to seduce Franklin while they were dating, which is completely false. It's painful to hear about the awful things she's saying about me, especially given our already complicated relationship growing up. I've been thinking a lot about our childhood and how it's led us to this point. Nina was always the star of the family, top of her class, talented musician, popular with everyone. I was the quiet, artistic one who never quite measured up in our parents' eyes. I remember one particular incident when I was 14 and Nina was 16. I had worked really hard on a painting for a school art show and was excited to show my parents. But the art show happened to be on the same night as one of Nina's piano recitals. Without even discussing it with me, my parents decided we would all go to Nina's recital instead. When I got upset, they couldn't understand why I was making such a big deal out of a little hobby. I think that's part of why Nina's engagement to Franklin hit me so hard. It felt like once again, Nina was taking something that was important to me and making it about her. And once again, my parents were siding with her without any consideration for my feelings. Speaking of my parents, they're still furious with me. They left me a voicemail saying they're deeply ashamed of me and that I'm no longer their daughter. They said they're changing their will to remove me as a beneficiary. Honestly, I don't care about the money. I've been financially independent for years. But it stings to be so thoroughly rejected by my own parents. I've been replaying memories from my childhood, trying to understand how we got to this point. I remember my dad teaching Nina how to drive, spending hours practicing with her in empty parking lots. When it was my turn to learn, he was always too busy and told me to figure it out on my own. Or the time I got accepted into a prestigious summer art program in high school, and instead of being proud, my mom said, "That's nice, but it's not like it's going to lead to a real career." It's clear now that the dynamic in our family has always been unhealthy, with Nina placed on a pedestal and me constantly trying to prove my worth. This situation with Franklin has just brought all of those issues to the surface. The one silver lining in all this is that Franklin's ex-girlfriend from high school, Lisa, reached out to me. She thanked me for believing her about the abuse and having the courage to speak out. We met up for coffee and talked for hours about our experiences with Franklin. It was really validating to connect with someone who understood what I went through. Lisa told me that after seeing my post, several other women have come forward with similar stories about Franklin. Apparently, his pattern of emotional abuse and infidelity goes back even further than we realized. There was a girl from his college internship who he pressured into a relationship, then ghosted her when she got pregnant. Another woman from his grad school days said he borrowed thousands of dollars from her, promising to pay her back, but then blocked her on everything when she tried to collect. Lisa is thinking about starting a support group for Franklin's victims. She says it's been healing for her to connect with others who've had similar experiences, and she wants to create a safe space for people to share and heal together. As for the wedding, it's still on as far as I know. Nina is doubling down and saying this has only made her and Franklin's relationship stronger. She posted a long rant on social media about how haters and jealous people will never come between true love. It's clear she's in deep denial about who Franklin really is. I'm struggling with whether I should try to reach out to Nina one last time before the wedding. Part of me feels like I need to make one final attempt to open her eyes. But another part of me knows she's not ready to hear the truth and it will only lead to more drama and pain. For now, I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. I've started seeing a therapist to work through all the family trauma that this situation has brought up. I'm also reconnecting with old friends I had drifted away from while dealing with all this drama. My college roommate Rachel has been especially supportive, even offering to let me stay with her for a while if I need to get away from everything. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but I'm trying to stay positive and remember that I did the right thing, even if my family can't see it right now. I keep reminding myself that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel good in the moment, but it's necessary for long-term healing and growth. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I wanted to fill everyone in on the latest developments because it feels like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. The biggest news is that my sister Nina finally called off her engagement to Franklin. It turns out that my social media post exposing his past had more of an impact than I realized. While Nina initially dismissed the allegations, she started doing some digging of her own. She reached out to some of Franklin's exes and former friends, and their stories corroborated everything I had said. Nina told me that she started noticing things about Franklin's behavior that she had previously overlooked. He would get irrationally angry if she wanted to spend time with her friends without him. He made subtle put-downs about her career choices and appearance. She caught him in several lies about where he had been and who he was with. The final straw came when Nina discovered Franklin had been secretly communicating with other women throughout the relationship. She found messages on his phone that proved he had been unfaithful multiple times. There were explicit photos, plans to meet up, and even discussions about a future together with one woman. Nina called me in tears to apologize for not believing me earlier. She admitted that she had been in denial and that her desire to have the perfect relationship had blinded her to Franklin's true nature. She said she felt foolish for falling for his manipulation and was struggling with feelings of shame and embarrassment. While things are still tense between us, we're slowly starting to rebuild our relationship. We've had some long, honest conversations about our childhood and the competition that always existed between us. Nina admitted that she often felt pressure to be perfect because our parents put her on such a pedestal, and she resented me for seeming more carefree and artistic. I shared with her how I always felt inadequate compared to her, and how our parents' constant comparisons had damaged my self-esteem. It was a difficult conversation, but it felt like we were finally seeing each other clearly for the first time in years. My parents, on the other hand, are still not speaking to me. They're embarrassed about having to call off the wedding and cancel all the elaborate plans they had made. Instead of admitting they were wrong about Franklin, they're doubling down and blaming me for ruining everything. They say if I had just kept quiet, Nina and Franklin would be happily married now. I heard through my aunt that my mom has been telling relatives that I always had a vivid imagination and implying that I made up or exaggerated the claims about Franklin out of jealousy. It's frustrating that they can't see how toxic that would have been for Nina to marry someone like Franklin. Franklin has essentially gone into hiding since everything came to light. I heard through mutual friends that he lost his job after his employer found out about his history of abusive behavior. Apparently, there had already been some complaints about him from female coworkers, and my post was the final straw. He's apparently left town, and no one seems to know where he's gone. The support group that Lisa started for Franklin's victims has really taken off. They've had several meetings now, and it's been healing for everyone involved to share their experiences and support each other. I've attended a couple of meetings myself, and it's been incredibly validating to hear other women describe the same patterns of behavior that I experienced with Franklin. One woman shared how Franklin had convinced her to invest her life savings in a can't-miss business opportunity that turned out to be a scam. Another talked about how he had isolated her from her family and friends, making her completely dependent on him emotionally and financially. Hearing these stories made me realize even more how dangerous Franklin could have been for Nina if they had gotten married. As for me, I'm doing better. Therapy has been really helpful in processing everything that's happened. I'm learning to set boundaries and stand up for myself, even when it's difficult. My therapist has helped me understand that my worth isn't determined by my family's approval, which has been a hard but important lesson to internalize. I've also been focusing on my career and recently got a promotion at work. My boss praised my creativity and problem-solving skills, which felt especially good given how my parents always dismissed my artistic abilities. I'm starting to feel more confident in my choices and my path in life. While I'm sad about the rift with my parents, I'm trying to accept that I can't control their reactions. I know I did the right thing by exposing the truth, even if they can't see it. For now, I'm surrounding myself with supportive friends and chosen family who appreciate me for who I am. It's been a roller coaster few months, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. I'm proud of myself for standing my ground and speaking the truth, no matter the cost. While I hope my parents will come around eventually, I'm prepared to move forward with or without their support. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on how everything has played out. Nina and I have continued to work on rebuilding our relationship. It's been a slow process, but we're making progress. She's in therapy now to work through her issues from the relationship with Franklin and to understand why she was drawn to someone so toxic. We've had some really honest conversations about our childhood and family dynamics that have been eye-opening for both of us. Last month, Nina invited me over to her place for dinner. It was the first time we'd spent one-on-one time together in years. We talked for hours, sharing memories from our childhood and discussing how our parents' behavior had shaped us. Nina admitted that she had always been jealous of my artistic abilities and my courage to pursue a creative career. I confessed that I had envied her academic success and our parents' obvious pride in her accomplishments. It was a breakthrough moment for us, realizing that we had both been struggling with our own insecurities all these years. My parents are still not speaking to me directly, but they've started to soften their stance a bit. They sent me a birthday card last month, the first contact we've had in nearly a year. It was just a generic store-bought card with no personal message, but I see it as a tiny step in the right direction. My aunt told me that Mom has stopped bad-mouthing me to relatives, which I suppose is progress of a sort. I'm not holding my breath for a full reconciliation anytime soon, but I'm leaving the door open if they ever want to talk. I've realized that I can't force them to see things from my perspective or to apologize for years of favoritism and emotional neglect. All I can do is continue to work on myself and be open to the possibility of repairing our relationship if they're ever willing to meet me halfway. The Franklin situation has finally died down for the most part. The last I heard, he had moved to another state and was trying to reinvent himself. A mutual friend ran into him recently and said he was working as a car salesman and claimed to have found God. I hope for everyone's sake that he's genuinely changed, but I'm skeptical. Katie's support group is still going strong and has even expanded to include victims of other abusers. They're doing great work in raising awareness about emotional abuse and helping survivors heal. I still attend meetings occasionally, and it's incredible to see how far everyone has come in their healing journeys. As for me, I'm in a really good place now. I've come to terms with the fact that I may never have the close family relationship I once hoped for. But I've built a strong network of friends who have become my chosen family. Last weekend, we had a big potluck dinner at my place, and as I looked around at all the smiling faces, I realized that this is what true family feels like, people who accept and support you unconditionally. I'm excelling at work and was recently headhunted for an amazing new job opportunity in another city. It's a senior position at a prestigious advertising agency, and they were particularly impressed by my portfolio of artwork-inspired campaigns. It feels vindicating to have my artistic background recognized as an asset rather than a liability. I've also started dating again for the first time since all this happened. I'm taking things slow and being very cautious about who I let into my life. But it feels good to be open to the possibility of love again. I've been seeing a guy named Chris for a few months now. He's kind, respectful, and genuinely interested in my art. It's refreshing to be with someone who supports my passions instead of trying to change me. Looking back on everything that's happened, I have no regrets about exposing the truth about Franklin. While it caused a lot of short-term pain and drama, I truly believe it was the right thing to do. My sister was saved from a potentially abusive marriage, and other women were spared from becoming Franklin's victims. I've learned a lot about standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. I've also learned the importance of surrounding yourself with people who support and believe in you, whether they're blood relatives or not.